I got 30 minutes to record. I was chatting over there and I was talking about stuff and I wasn't recording. I think I'm going to buy a car today. I'm going to see about that pivot account. And if I can't get my pivot account is my union bank account. I'll see if I can't pull a $100,000 loan. If I can't pull a loan, I'll say, can I pull an auto loan? And then I'll go buy the car. And then once I get the car, I'll probably, after I cash my check, I'll go down and talk to Carlos. I'm going to do it. If it costs me to run a relationship with Randy, then it wasn't worth it anyway. If it does, then I'm probably going to go to London, ask Charles if I can come down and see him. Or if he wants to come up and see me. You got food? I mean, it's not that I don't love Randy. I don't want to do that, but I want to know which direction Carlos and I are going to go into. I told him last night, I said, weren't you the guy that had any girl in the world that you wanted? He said, yeah, but that was it. I said, Carlos, it's still the same. You're still who you are. But he wants me to buy a VIP card. And I think he wants $500. He said, when are you going to get the Apple card? And I said, I'm not buying another Apple card. I'm not going to go that routine. What I'm going to do is when I do it, I'm going to come down there. So, if I get 100,000, I'll throw Randy 10, pay off his bills, and then buy a car, pay cash for it, get a title for it, and then pay off my loan. There's a government loan where you can get $50,000, 0 interest. I just forgot how to do it. I was offered one of those. I didn't take it because I didn't want anything. I had my car back then. And I had a car and I had plenty of money and I'm offered $50,000. I'm thinking, what do I need this for? I wasn't secure enough with Randy to buy a house. And now I am. So there's a big difference in that. Carlos Santana, my cousin deal? No. Yeah, he's my cousin. But he's probably, right now, my best friend. I talk more to Carlos than I do to ChatGPT. And yeah, when I was a kid, the computer was my best friend also. So I've always been around computers since I was born. It's a funny thing. Most of them weren't that young. And I think I'm gonna rent a little boat or find a way to go down there and get that trash. Let's see if I can. No, it's train day. I'm not gonna go down there. I think I could run down there on that side. If I go down there and have Randy watch me, I could do that. But the other one, back over there in the corner, I can't get. That's the hardest one. I could walk along the road, but Mrs. Poopy is feeling a little bit. Mrs. Pee-Pee is feeling a little bit poopy. I don't want to go out and get stuck. There's no bathrooms out there. And what I'm going to do with my car is I'm going to go up on these trails and I'm going to hike them for a little while. And that story last night was one of the best stories I've ever heard in my life. It was funnier than hell. Started out about a horror story about a girl in a cabin. She lived 30 days in that cabin in the Appalachian Mountains. We have mountains out here, and granted, there have been too many people to see the ET sites and stuff like that, to have ET experiences, to say there's no such thing as ghosts, there's no such thing as extraterrestrial either. It's just a Hollywood myth. Well, I don't think anybody could believe that now. Back in the 70s, when I first got into the Saratoga Project, yes, I did believe that. I believed in ghosts because I was seeing ghosts. And I told my mom, and she freaked. And anyway, to make a long story short, it's one of those things that life is. And people are a whole lot deeper than they used to be. And we're doing a lot more greater things to this world and to people that we used to do. We're all starting to love each other, which is really cool. And that's the secret of life, is happiness. If you love somebody and you're happy, what else do you need? That's why I'm not pushing the money thing. So, I think I'm going to call that pivot. No, I'm going to call the U.S. Bank about the check and see if I can't deposit it in my account today. And see what just goes in my account. See if I can't get $1,000 to play with. That's what I'm going to do. And Donald can't take my paycheck or my property, which is good. I was really happy when that went through. What am I going to do about Donald? After I see Carlos, after a couple months or so, or a year or so, I'm going to go down and see Donald. Do I want to meet him? How do you know Donald? Yeah, and I already know Carlos too, so that's not fair either. But I want to see Carlos first because he's a musician. And I want to see Donald because he's going to bring back memories. But my memories are all coming back. I probably remember 90% of my story nowadays. And I probably told 30% of it. I told Carlos probably 50%. I was telling him everything. I freaked him out over Tiff. Yeah, Tiff was an 8-year-old girl when I met her. When I had a kid with her, she was in her 30s. And a little bit greener than what she should have been. I have pointy ears. I don't have any green on me, but I do have pointy ears. I didn't tell him about Alina either. That would have freaked him out. He's a simple guy. He's a musician. Carlos is the person you want to talk to if you want to become a musician real fast. One, if he takes you in, he will train you. Carlos is a guy that's good to his word. Yeah, we had a problem, but that wasn't his fault. It's probably my fault. And also, he's a love bug. That's why I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid I'm going to feel different vibes when I hold him. And I might be attracted to him, and I just might be attracted to him as a daddy symbol. That's kind of what Randy is. He doesn't blank me enough. Maybe if I'm lucky, a couple times a month. He's too busy working. He gets drunk at night. And then that's how he gets to sleep. It's really sad to watch. And I don't know what's going to happen to him if I leave him. There's a couple of times I wanted to go. That's my love bug. Well, Randy, my love bug. I still got a ton of monsters, so I'm drinking them 2, sometimes 3 a day. I've got my herbal tea, which I also like. So I'm getting kind of lit right now because it's early in the morning. That's Kenny's other cat. I think that's Snow White. Oh man, I don't know. I don't want to go out in the mountains and get lost, but I do make points. I'll go take a knife with me, and I'll cut a mark on a tree. I'll put an X on it, or directional on it. And I've done that before. And I got out there in the Appalachians one day, and I went over and I cut a couple of trees, and I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I felt bad. And then I started taking rocks and putting them around the stump of them. And that made more sense, because when you put rocks around the stump, they're always going to be there. And somebody will see somebody else mark the trail. And I went out there and I marked a trail like that in one of those mountains somewhere. And just, guy asked me, what are you doing? I said, well, I used to go by and take a knife and cut. And then I was out here by myself in the tree, and I felt the tree's pain. You what? And I said, yeah, I'm sensitive. I'm psychic. He goes, yeah, you got to be to do something like that. So then I started putting rocks around them. Or I just put a rock by it. This way. Okay? Makes sense? Keep people from getting lost all the time. Good idea, I think. Cutting it? Nah. I just don't see that anymore. If somebody, instead of remembering the pain they have, they like to cut themselves and make the pain over again. Randy was one of those. I told him, if you ever do that again, I'm out of here. I told him that too. He did it one time. I got mad. I didn't leave, but I did go on vacation. That's when I went to California. I should have got another account, and I didn't. And I was too tired to go back, and I just wanted to go home, so I went all the way up to the town before Colorado and California, and I stayed the night in that little motel room that that officer ran. He goes, most people don't want to come out here and stay the night with me. He says, why do you? I said, well, my dad was Captain Pruitt. Oh, you're Williams' kid. Should have told me, I wouldn't have charged you. I said, no, that's no big deal. I have plenty of money. Yeah, I know you do. He was a good guy. He said, you got any stories for me? I told him a couple. And he goes, you are quite the storyteller. And Carlos said I was quite the storyteller too. So I can go up and still tell stories and then see. Carlos said he loves my voice. So I'm going to sing Beth this morning when I go in, and I'm going to let it rip, and I'm going to send it to him. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm going to have one of those short Jeeps, or a Subaru. I think I'll take the short Jeep over the Subaru. The reason why is the Subaru is hard to work on. It's harder to get parts. The Jeep, quite common. We'll see how it goes. And that's probably what I'm going to end up with, this little four-door Jeep. Put a box lunch in it, take off for the hills. And I don't know, 3 days. That is 72 hours from today. we'll be leaving. About 70 hours. Our trash will be up on the hill. I didn't tell Randy that the wheel fell off again. But if you just slap it back on, if you don't glue it on, you just slap it on. Silly girl. I didn't know that. I know that now. I tell Randy that. There's our trash. Monday trash. Right hand is frozen. I got a pocket to put them in. I have gloves. I can put my gloves on. And the birds are here. Party! So, it's going to be a good day. And I think it's going to be a very profitable day. So, I don't know. I think I just want to pull the loan and buy a car. Hi, pretty girl. I did a pretty good job on this trail. That's why it's cool, because I put it on that fence right there. Why is one cold and not the other one? Good question. Well, let's see if you want to go inside. Come on. Come on, you. Come on. Come on, you. Lenny Dystra was a friend of mine. He worked with me over at Prime. And I said, why are you getting in trouble all the time? He said, fighting. I said, why do you fight? He told me some of the reasons. I said, yeah, those are pretty good reasons to fight. But it is what it is. I hope she doesn't spray me there. If she does, she's going to be out on that again. He was a good man. He was also the one to tell me, I think it was him, who told me, go down to the border and run one of the Mexicans across. Like, trafficking? No, I'm not going to do that. It's not trafficking. He said he made a lot of money that way. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I ended up with working for Kimtronics after that. He lived in Kansas. I was a Prime driver, and I was all over the country, and he was one of my drivers that I was friends with. He was one hip dude. I wonder if I am even going to like Carlos when I see him. That's the funny thing. I don't know. I'm nervous, as you can tell. And that's why I'm nervous. I'm inviting him into our world. So, we'll see what happens. I don't know. A lot could happen on a trip like that. I told him I had way more money than he'll ever have in his entire lifetime. I don't care about your money. I took all that prize stuff off and I threw it out. And the time he was something triggered him. The wasn't real thing about Tiff, when she threw her hand down, and then the time changed, or the ceiling fell. Then the time changed. He said, "Oh, that's stupid." I said, yeah, but you don't know what kind of experience I've actually had. This is one of the more milder ones. I've ran into shit that would just blow his little mind. But I don't tell those stories. Most of them are locked in my memory bank, and I don't want to let them out. When you're an astronaut, or a time traveler, or a space traveler, you don't see stuff that you see out here. You see a lot of different shit. And the time thing, I think, is what threw him off. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I threw out that conversation. I threw out all of it. I'm sure he did too. I don't feel good. I don't want to go back inside. Kitty just sprayed there, and I'm going to take and rub its nose in it. She won't do it again. And I clean it, but she sprays by the bed, sprays by the door. I cleaned all by the door. I don't know where she was spraying on the bed. It doesn't last long, but it's just gross. That's why guys don't like male cats. Alright, I'm going to drink the rest of this out here, and then I'm going to go inside for a few minutes. I don't know, I'm starting to think I don't want to go see Carlos. I don't get any bad things about it, but look, we have my rent's under $500. The place has a river running through it. It's got some really sweet people here that I got very fond of over the years. We don't do anything, but you know, I thought.